There's a lot of people that bring this topic up all the time on social media, so let's try to answer it. Is pro wrestling dead? Is it dying? Is it not popular anymore? What are your thoughts?
Pro wrestling is not dying. I just believe that it's becoming more segmented, and I think people have more options nowadays. So it's not like we have one big promotion like the WWE, who is essentially considered the entire wrestling industry.
Mm-hmm.
I think right now you're seeing more TV deals given out. You're seeing more people get attention. Like, for example, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks. Those guys were really over in other promotions like Ring of Honor. They were really over in Japan. And, you know, there was really a want for other promotions to exist and an alternative to WWE. And I think what you're seeing now is really just fans aren't so much just paying attention to the WWE, and it's not like we're just referring to the industry as WWE. It's just people have more options now, and I think the fans are more dedicated and more spread out.
Right. I think, you know, when it really comes down to it, I know a lot of people say it's a niche audience, it's a niche audience, it's a niche audience. However, I think the opposite. I actually still think wrestling is popular. I still think wrestling is mainstream. And I'll tell you why. I know a lot of people bring up the ratings, for example, on why wrestling is becoming niche, not popular anymore. But when you think about it, when you really think about how to analyze ratings, a lot of the demos that they're out there, WWE is number 1 or number 2 in all those demos, except for 50 plus, which is what skews the total viewership. AEW Dynamite, they are in the top 10 in 18 to 49 demographic. They're in the top 3 or 5 in men's 18 to 49. They do well in 18 to 34. So they're doing well in specific demographics too. So I know a lot of people like to use the total viewership. You know, WWE reaches total record low total viewership. Oh, they're dying. They're dying. No, they're not. They're not even close to dying. I'm sorry. You can't use ratings as a argument for if they're dying or not, or it's not popular or not, because with total viewership, no show gets 2 million viewers on cable television unless you're cable news now.
It's very much like any other industry. You know, there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. And I think right now people refer to the wrestling industry as dying because, you know, looking back on the Attitude Era and then following that, the Ruthless Aggression Era, and even the Monday Night Wars for that matter, those were peaks, like those were highs, and to expect to just kind of ride that out forever is it just doesn't happen that way. And it's not just with wrestling, but it's with entertainment, it's with sports. There's ups and there's downs.
But that's the thing. Hold on. You know, people try to compare the ratings from 20 years ago to today, and they're not comparable because the television industry has changed significantly in 20 years. And with television ratings, you know, one, there wasn't streaming at all. Now 26% of people watch television through streaming, which does not get equated into the television ratings that we see from Wrestling Inc., from Dave Meltzer, from before Showbuzz Daily got shut down, WrestleNomics. You know, they're reporting the live same-day ratings, which streaming is not a part of that. You know, also...
Are you sure about that?
I am.
Are you positive about that? Because
yes,
I know this was a big deal.
Yes, I'm 100% positive of this. The only way it counts is if the streaming service plays the same ads as what's played on the linear cable programming.
Hit him with your tagline. I work in
television. I know this shit. I know this shit inside and out.
And speaking of television, I mean, if the wrestling industry was truly dying, you know, you would see other things going on. Things that would indicate that there is no worth left. Because like I was saying, it's supply and demand like any other industry. If there was no worth to WWE, and I'm just using WWE as an example, and I'll get to AEW and other things after I make this point, would Peacock be spending $1 billion on to put the WWE network on their station or channel or streaming service? No, they wouldn't. Would Saudi Arabia go out of their way to make some type of lucrative deal with the WWE so they could put on shows there? No, they wouldn't. Would AEW exist? Would TNT take a risk on putting professional wrestling on their station if the wrestling industry as a whole was collectively dying? No, they wouldn't. would A&E be running special programming on some wrestlers of the past and looking at their careers and all of those things if they didn't know that people were going to tune in? No, they wouldn't. So I think that right now it's strange because, as you pointed out, things are changing. People aren't just sitting home and they're not just watching TV. There's multiple ways to watch pay-per-views. There's multiple ways to consume content. It's not just about what you're seeing on TV. It's about putting out content. And there's so many different ways that you can watch and engage, not just with wrestling but wrestlers, that, you can go on YouTube and find something you like. You can go on, I know Nesson, for anybody that's around this area, we're from Connecticut here, they have like Hollywood wrestling. Like, there's so many different options now where you don't just have to focus on, okay, well, we have TNA in WWE, or we just had WWE. Now you have MLW, you have New Japan Pro Wrestling, you have AEW, you have WWE, you have NXT. All of these things where now professional wrestling fans, they can go to indie shows. I'm sure you can watch indie shows on YouTube and all of those things of that nature too.
There's a whole network for independent wrestling, High Spots Network.
Yeah, so you don't have to just be consuming WWE content. So when people see those numbers, oh my God, every week, oh, the viewership, the ratings, blah, blah, blah. Like, to your point, one, people who don't even understand how it works are constantly tweeting about it and commenting about it because they think it essentially helps build up their case and prove that their program that they choose to watch is better than WWE or better than NXT or what.
Confirmation bias.
None of it really matters. It's just right now we're in a time where you have multiple ways to view professional wrestling, and there's so many different companies that, you're not just watching WWE, so people take that as, okay, well, wrestling is dying. They are missing that one big star. That I will say.
I agree with that.
Steve Austin, a Hogan, a Cena. We haven't seen it since Cena. Eventually somebody will come out and they'll say the right thing or do the right thing and it will get crazy over. We aren't there yet. But to suggest that wrestling is dying, not even close.
Right. And to go on to your point, there's in-ring wrestling on national television every night of the week. You have Raw on Monday.
Yep.
You have NXT on Tuesday, Dynamite on Wednesday, Impact Wrestling on Access TV Thursday, Smackdown Friday, and in August, you have Rampage starting on AEW. Saturday, starting on July 10th, you have MLW on Vice TV. When was there ever a time in professional wrestling where you had consistently a different show every week? And that's not counting NWA Power on Fight TV streaming. That's not counting OVW on Next Level Sports, which is a small national network for, some people might get that network, some might, but it's got national reach. Ring of Honor that has the regional programming deals left and right because they're part of Sinclair Broadcasting. GCW and their deals with Fight TV. There's more access to professional wrestling than ever before, and the internet has helped that. But also, I could see why people say it's dying because they think now, as you pointed out, it's more niche because of the internet.
Yeah, it's like, you can compare it to any industry. You look at the fast food industry. At one point, maybe you just had McDonald's. Now you got Wendy's. Then you had Burger King, and then you had Taco Bell. So, point is, there's more options out there. People don't just have to be consuming WWE content all of the time. And I think that when people think about the wrestling industry, they compare it to WWE because even to today, WWE is still the biggest wrestling promotion in the world.
Right.
And even New Japan, who I guess you would say is probably second just because of how long they've been around, they're still not even close to what WWE is doing. And when people in the United States look at wrestling or you talk to people about wrestling, a lot of times they compare WWE or they consider WWE as being the industry, and it really isn't the whole industry, but WWE is probably at a low point, at least from a, just putting out content that people enjoy. The stuff they're putting out, a lot of people are critical of, and a lot of people don't necessarily enjoy. And people look at that and they say, okay, well, the industry is dying. How could people watch this? It's not. WWE doesn't represent the whole industry.
As far as I know, the TV or the pro wrestling industry is not dying. Absolutely not. Let us know in the comments what you think. Is the pro wrestling industry dying? And if you want to check out our other debates and conversations, click the playlist on the screen right now. Subscribe, hit that bell for notifications to join the conversation. We'll see you on the next episode of the Squared Circle Psychobabble.